Hello again, everybody. I'm Jake Senholz, the play-by-play voice of your Wausau RiverWolves, and I'm joined this morning by RiverWolves assistant coach Jacob Smulevitch. Coach, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Just finished up practice, so boys worked hard. I gave them a day off from dryland. We got 2 big games this weekend. So.
Well, how considerate of you. And you were running practice out there today. Colin not available, so good to hear you put in a little bit of work and. Big games this weekend coming up. We'll get to those eventually. But first, you mentioned practice this morning. You guys haven't played a game in, I believe, 9 days. You're on a 12-day total break. Again, play a couple games this weekend. But what have you guys been working on in practice over such a long hiatus, not seeing any game action? What have you seen in the first part of the season that made you want to work on whatever you've been working on during practice?
I think last week we really tried to have a little more fun. As opposed to very structured stuff. Still working on skill development, but having fun with it because, having those days off, get the boys refreshed and ready for the upcoming grind until the showcase and our next break. The things we worked on this week so far is, a lot of system-based stuff. Today was a little different, obviously, because, shorthanded, Colin not available today, so it was a little different. We're looking forward to working on our power play and our PK over the next couple of days, really hammering out the little details that we'll need against the good teams we play this weekend in Cooley and Peoria. So.
Sure, and you mentioned the word grind, and junior hockey season really is a grind. A lot of games over a few months, and these guys work hard all the time, but it's really nice, obviously, to get those 10, 12-day breaks in there sometimes kind of just press the reset button. You guys have only had 1 home game the entire month of October. You made the most of it, though, with a 4-2 win against Cooley Region Chill. That had to have been a fun game. 3 guys get their first junior goal. You guys get your first win as head coach and assistant coach. Talk us through that game a little bit and what it was like in the locker room afterwards.
So I actually sadly had to miss the game, but I was able to be part of it. Boys FaceTimed me, so it was really nice. But from my understanding, and watching the game online, boys competed really well, played really hard. Cooley's a fantastic team, one of the best teams in the league last year. Locker room, again, even being part of it through FaceTime, like boys were pumped. It was great. Everyone was together. Colin, obviously his first win as a head coach in junior hockey, so that's a huge deal for him. Big stepping stone the right way for us as a team. So I think it's something we can build on and really kind of, from that game, we got the bounces we needed to get. We worked really hard, and hopefully that's something we can continue the rest of the season, and hopefully we have a pumped up locker room a lot more this year.
Yeah, for sure, and you get to see Cooley again this weekend. The 3 guys that scored their first goal were Casey Couture, Ian Raditz, and Jared Meyer, so congratulations to those guys. So if you want to check out that video that was posted of the locker room fun, you can go over to Wausau RiverWolves on Instagram, and there is a pretty cool video of Coach throwing out the game pucks to all 3 of those guys. So that's a highlight of the season. Want to move on to something that's a little bit not quite as much of a highlight. Something that I have noticed throughout the season is third period struggles. I'm sure you guys have noticed it, but a couple of the games most recently, you guys have been in it through 2 periods. I believe here against St. Louis just last week, you were actually leading the game 3-1 going into the third period. Ended up losing that one 6-3. Then there was another game a couple weeks ago. You guys were tied 2-2. Ended up losing that one 5-2. So what's been going on with the third period struggles? What have you guys seen as a coaching staff? What have the boys been trying to do to make up for that?
It's probably a good amount of things, little things that we could cover that this goal went in, this goal didn't our way, that we could probably get into. But I think the biggest thing is it's mental. It's pushing through, having tired legs, having bust legs, playing the 3rd game of a weekend, whatever it may be. It all comes down to mental ability. So, we don't want to change too much because, like you said, we're playing well. It's just those little breakdowns. And, Colin and I have been preaching all year, play a full 60 minutes. And so in hockey, like any sport, you take 2 minutes off, the game goes the other way, and then that's all she wrote. So, that's something we're definitely pushing, is the mental aspect of it. Just because I think we push through that, and we'll win a lot more of those close games in the third.
Exactly, and through along with the mental thing, you mentioned the legs. I know you mentioned off camera you skated the boys this morning. They need that once in a while, but with the mental thing, I've been here for 2 years now doing play-by-play for the RiverWolves, and something I've noticed is penalties in big points of the game Again, mental mistakes, kind of just shooting yourself in the foot. In that game I mentioned against St. Louis just last week, 5 penalties alone in the third period. And when that happens, going into the third period, you get 5 penalties. It's going to be a pretty tough period. So, again, that's just something that I mentioned. But in early season, a lot of hockey left to play. So, I was just kind of wondering what you guys saw as far as the third period struggles. On top of that, I already mentioned the penalties, but Tyler Klatt, he's been big for you guys this year. Again, keeping you in games through the first 2 periods, averaging about 60 saves a game, which is a lot of action for any goalie at any level. What can you guys do to maybe shore up defense a little bit, try and have Tyler not see so many shots here in the later part of this season?
We definitely want to limit the amount of shots we let up. I do think, we have played some teams that they take a lot of perimeter shots,
Sure.
In which, it looks like a lot of shots, but realistically the scoring chances aren't that many. We do want to limit that amount of shots. I think Tyler is one of those goalies that, you get that plays better the more shots he faces.
Sure.
And when he doesn't face as many shots, he doesn't really feel in rhythm. He has been absolutely outstanding for us, not only as a player, but as a leader. He's a guy who, everyone loves in the locker room. He's a veteran at the junior level. He's been to a high school, state tournament in Minnesota. So, he has a lot of experience. Boys really respect him. Colin and I respect him. He's been definitely probably brightest spot of our team so far is just his consistent play that's kept us in a lot of games. So.
Yeah, that's really big. You touched on the experience, but just the confidence level. It makes such a difference. I played goalie my whole life, and when you have a team who believes in you and a coaching staff who believes in you, especially you're able to bounce back from a bad game, or if the team is not playing so well, you know that you're going to be in it because you have such a solid goalie back there. Pretty impressive. Tyler has over a 5 goals against average, still over 90% save percentage on the season. So anytime you see those numbers, it just screams that the goalie is playing really well. But then also, like you said, your defense doing a good job to keep a lot of perimeter shots to the outside. So numbers kind of get padded a little bit in there too. So really, really solid effort all year from goaltender Tyler Klatt. So last question I've got for you really this week is, we mentioned it, Cooley Region, one of the teams you're going to be facing this weekend. Who's the other?
And Peoria.
You guys played them yet this year? What do you see out of Peoria?
So it'll be our first time playing Peoria. So from what I know about them, they're very well coached. They have a great coaching staff. They're a younger team. They usually move on a lot of guys. So I know they have a very young team, but they still have a couple of veterans who, were big point guys for them. I know they just picked up a really good defenseman in Payne from Milwaukee. So I know they're going to have a very strong team. They play a very chippy, very intense style, so it's something we're going to have to match. We're not going to be able to have the excuse of bust legs or anything like that. So we're going to have to come out just as hard as they do. So it'll be something where if we play to our systems and our games, I think we'll be successful. And if we get away from it, just like any other game, it'll go downhill. So.
Sure. All right, Coach. Well, one last bonus question for you. He led the team in scoring last year. He's huge this year. Tanner Escrow, it seems like he scores the first goal of almost every game. How huge has he been this year?
Tanner's been phenomenal. I think he improves every day. He's a kid who has an intense amount of fire and passion on the ice. He's been the guy who we look to when we need a big goal. And he comes and he works hard and he gets better every day. And not being here last year and even from the first day of practice this year to now, just seeing how much he improves, working on his shot before, after practice. And he's really stepping up. So he's been great.
And look for him to have a few more goals this weekend. So once again, thank you, Assistant Coach Jacob Smulevitch. And if you want to keep up with anything else having to do with the RiverWolves, just find them on any social media at Wausau RWolves. And again, you can watch them. They won't be back on Hockey TV here at home until November, but you can find their games as well online coming up this weekend. So once again, thank you, Coach. I'm Jake Senholz, and thanks all for watching.